Yeah, I can see us too. I just pulled up the stream.
Oh, yeah, okay. Gotcha. All right. The stream starting thing, for some reason, even though it's clearly highlighted in OBS, is not the thing that's on screen. But it's fine. We're already 3 minutes behind schedule, so.
The perfect time to start.
Yes. So hello and welcome to.
Hi.
Hi. To episode 86 of OK Podcasts with Bad People.
Why episode 86?
That'll be a little surprise when we make the reveal at the end of this podcast.
Oh.
Yeah, if you think about that number as a verb, it will make sense. Anyway, I'm CJ.
I'm Robert. I'm still trying to figure it. I feel like I know what the reveal is, but I also feel like an idiot, so.
That's fine. I mean, you're not an idiot. You're a beautiful person.
Well, thank you. I know that well. I just don't know what 86 is supposed to sound like.
What? It's supposed to sound like?
I thought you said it was supposed to sound like something.
I said when it's used as a verb.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about The Last Action Hero, a name that is also somewhat prevalent to the reveal at the end of this podcast. And our dream Fallout game, a game about the end of the world, and then possibly new beginnings. So all of this is so relevant and cohesive to...
just like everything always is here on the podcast.
Indeed.
Relevant and cohesive.
And up to snuff.
Yep.
But before we get into those meat and potatoes, do you have a tasty appetizer for us today, Robert?
I do, and I feel like you'll be excited about the topic of today's quiz because I looked up some Arnold Schwarzenegger facts.
Yes.
So, ready to get started?
I am. Quiz me,
All right.
Quizmaster.
So, Arnold Schwarzenegger's career began fairly young. He was born in Austria and wanted to become an American movie actor and felt that becoming a bodybuilding champion and leveraging that fame was the most effective means of doing so. He became the youngest Mr. Universe ever at the age of 20, and while he continued to pursue acting and participate in the world of bodybuilding, at age 21 he opened his own business doing something a little different, and you get to guess what that was. So, in the business that he opened, was he A, door-to-door vacuum salesman, B, a bodybuilding coach, C, a bricklayer, or D, a purveyor of scented candles?
This could be really interesting because I know he owns gyms and he owns restaurants, but that's now. So at 21, he would have been Mr. Universe, so he would have gotten somewhat famous, had some money. So I doubt he would need to do the manual stuff of being a bricklayer. What was the first thing? Or a vacuum salesman. So
A door-to-door vacuum salesman was the first one.
the bodybuilding coach sounds like the normal, because he even has his own lift. And the candle one seems like the goofy one for Williams. So I'm going to say bodybuilding coach.
He actually started a bricklaying business.
Where he was the bricklayer?
Yeah, at least that was the impression I got from
that's
the
weird.
little bit of trivia that I read.
Okay.
Apparently it did pretty well, though. Just like, I guess there was an earthquake at the time or something, so demand for building materials was pretty high, and then he just did a good job and was a pretty savvy businessman.
Nice. Good job, Arnold.
Yeah, indeed. Question number 2. So, Schwarzenegger discovered weightlifting at the age of 14 when his soccer coach took the team to a gym to work out, and he became obsessed with perfecting his physique, quit the soccer team, and started focusing on bodybuilding. He would exercise every day, but it wasn't always easy. One particular challenge was that his gym wasn't open on the weekends, but Schwarzenegger was not about to let that stop him. He figured out a way to work out on the weekends, and you get to guess what it was. So, did he A, build a home gym with weights that he fabricated using metal from a local scrapyard? B, take up a part-time job as a bricklayer on the weekends, where he would make money and muscles by lifting and moving heavy bricks and stones. C. Purchase a massive tire from a local military surplus store and tone his body by rolling and lifting it. Or D. Break into the gym and work out anyways.
I mean, the one that makes most sense to me would be the one about bricklaying. But that's probably just the bait answer, but I'm going to say it anyway.
I'm afraid I got you again. He would break into the gym and work out anyways. Which is kind of a baller move.
I guess that's a baller move.
I don't know. I mean...
Crime, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, a pretty harmless crime, but I see your point. Anyways, our next question deals with another of Schwarzenegger's illegal doings, because when he was 18, he spent a week in prison for a crime that he did commit. And, as always, you get to guess what got him thrown in the clink. So, did he A, get caught crossing the border into Switzerland without proper paperwork? B, go AWOL during military service? C, get in a drunken brawl with a rival bodybuilder? Or D, travel into the past and attempt to murder John Connor?
Okay. So, just a week. So I doubt it's the military service one, because that sounds like that'd be more than a week. They're known for fighting. I really, either the Switzerland one or the fighting one would, if someone said it, wouldn't really be like, is it the crossing into Switzerland one?
Nope. It was actually the going AWOL.
Really?
Yeah, so apparently Austria, like a lot of countries, has sort of a conscripted service where like everyone has to serve for a year. And at the same time, Arnold's bodybuilding career was really starting to take off. So he went AWOL from training one weekend in order to go to a bodybuilding competition. And when he got back, they threw him in the military prison for a week.
Huh. Only for a week.
Yep, only a week. I mean, it wasn't like he was running away from combat. It was, he like didn't show up for training. But yeah. Anyways, question number 4. So, when he first began his career, Schwarzenegger was told that his last name was too long and confusing for American audiences. As such, in his first few roles, these including some leading roles like Hercules in the movie Hercules in New York, he was credited under a different name, and you get to guess what that different name was. So, was it A, Arnold Strong, B, Arnold Short, C, Arnold Smith, or D, Arnold Werben-Jagen Manjensen?
I'm going to go with Arnold Strong.
Yep, you got it.
I did it.
Last question. So, Arnold was born in the city of Thal, Austria. Upon turning 60, he received an odd gift from the mayor of Thal and the city, and you get to guess what that gift was. So, did the city of Thal A, send Arnold the key to the city engraved with the symbol of a weight? B, retire the address of his birth home and send him the placard with the number? C, declare his birthday Arnold Schwarzenegger Day and announce an annual parade? Or D, get the choppa to him?
Why didn't all of the questions have a weird movie reference? Just the last 3 did.
I mean, because I don't know. I tried to make goofy stuff up.
Okay. And it's Trevor. The key to the city doesn't sound like super weird. That sounds pretty normal. I think the one that probably sounds the most weird but thing they would do would probably be they retired his birth address.
That's what you're going with?
Yep.
Well, you got it. Yeah. They retired the home of his birth. Or the address. No building in the town of Thal, Austria can ever have that address again.
Take that, buildings.
Indeed. And that was your quiz for the week.
There we go. I have been quizzed. Well, we've talked some Schwarzenegger in the past, and now we're going to talk even more because this movie is like 30 years old. So, Last Action Hero. This
Indeed.
was I remember being like 9. Nice. Good memories. This was your first time seeing the movie, correct?
Mine, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, this is my second time seeing it. So, what did you think?
So I would say I felt like there were a lot of moments in this movie that were fun, but on the whole, I did not really enjoy watching it. I've seen a lot. I read through a couple of people's different theories about like why people didn't react well to the movie or like why it had problems. I have my own, which I think is a lot simpler than what I saw in a lot of those articles, but I don't know if we want to just jump right into that or...
Yeah, let's jump into it and I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Okay. So I actually think that the biggest problem with this movie is structural. I think it's too long, and especially like the first act and the second act aren't very well paced in my opinion, and especially because the movie feels like it doesn't have actual stakes until about halfway through when the ticket gets stolen, and the halfway through point comes like 60 minutes into the movie because it's a like 2-hour long movie.
Mm-hmm.
So for me it's like I would be like watching it and have like laughing at some of the bits, but then I'd look at like how much time was left and be like, oh my god, are you serious? There's that much left of this movie. And I think the part of the problem is because it's a movie that has another movie fit inside of it, and like it's hard to structure a movie around that. And I'm not saying you can never make a 2-hour long movie that works. You absolutely can, but like I think you have to be doing something phenomenal, and I don't feel like this movie was doing something phenomenal that justified being as long as it was and taking as long as it does to get to like having real stakes.
I mean, I guess I definitely feel that it didn't have to be as long as it was. It could have been cut down and been a lot tighter.
Yeah.
But I guess to me, I don't think stakes were really an issue in this movie because it feels to me more of a comedy movie first and an action film second. That this is more of a celebration of a type of film rather than trying to be a unique film in and of itself, which a thing I think it actually does itself. But as far as stakes go, I guess, I don't know. I think it was carried through the first part of it with the character of Danny just being put into potentially perilous situations. And it's like, well, he's not part of the movie. We don't know whether or not he's going to make it. So he's in some form of mortal peril from time to time. So I don't know. Like that felt like stakes to me.
I don't know. It felt to me like he was never in danger because he understood like the rules of that movie universe functioned in a specific way, so that like because he was with the good guys, they were always going to win. Mm-hmm. And like there's moments where he thinks he understands the rules, but then they play out a little differently, like when he tries to play chicken with Benedict, but then realizes partway through playing chicken that he's the comedy relief character, and so like playing chicken isn't going to work in the rules of the movie. Mm-hmm. But also like as the comedy relief character, he's never going to like actually, you know, be harmed.
That wasn't what I took, because I've seen plenty of action movies where the comedy relief character gets killed. I think what it was him going, I'm the comedy relief character, I could die if I keep doing this. So I need to be more careful, specifically because Jack isn't here. But I don't know, like I just watching it again, I think the movie has more for me the biggest problems of the movie was putting so much acting responsibility on a kid, which for me in a movie is always kind of rough. But I think Danny did an okay job for what he was doing. I've definitely seen worse children actors, but I've also seen better. He was just,
I mean, that's the thing, is like he's just okay.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think the setup and the writing of it make up for it, in my opinion. And then, to me, nothing in the movie felt weird or, like, off-brand until the last, like, 10 minutes of the film. There were some, like, weird stunts that were supposed to take place in the real world that I was like, oh, that was weird.
yeah.
But, I don't know. I was completely entertained the entire time watching it.
I guess for me, the like fish out of comedy or fish out of water comedy that you get when Arnold is in the real world, like, was funnier to me than like most. There are definitely some funny moments that happen in the like action movie segment when they're in that world, but most of them didn't like just didn't hit it for me as much. And I mean, like, humor is so subjective that like sometimes humor's just not going to work for you. But
See, to me, I feel that the comedy landed best in the movie, which I feel was the point of it. Like, this is supposed to be the goofy part. And then there was some comedy in the real life part. But for me, I felt there was a big tonal shift when it became real. That it really focused in on, like, I don't know, I feel like it was supposed to be a joke in their head originally, but watching it now, I was like, man, that's fucked up, but it's also pretty real. Like when Benedict in the real world sees those two dudes after they kill that guy, and then he just like looks at the body, and then he looks around and sees how no one really gives a shit.
Yeah.
I was like, ugh. And then when he kills that guy, and he's like, I've just killed someone, is no one going to do anything about it? And the only response is a guy telling him to shut up.
Yeah.
Like, I thought both of those were really good examples of dark comedy, which I feel maybe at the time didn't land very well, but now feel much more relevant.
Yeah, those two were both moments that like made me laugh. Or
they made you okay.
Well,
they
not
make me laugh at all. I was just
found
like,
them humorous, I guess. But
I don't, because I have, like I had said, I've seen almost. I can't think of any major action franchise from the '80s I haven't seen, because that was like one of the few things my dad liked watching. So having that background really made me appreciate all the goofy shit that was happening in the first half of the movie. Like the buddy comedy desk office thing at the police station.
yeah.
That was great. It was like, Wilkins, you're partnered up with the black and white visualization of Humphrey Bogart. And he just turns around. I'm just like, what the fuck? Or Danny DeVito as an animated cat. And everyone's going, yeah, that's normal. You're stupid. Like, I don't know. So it feels like one of those things where I don't know how to really say that you're wrong without being like, your taste in movies is not what this audience is for, I guess. But
yeah, I think that is like part of it is that I don't think I was like the audience that this movie is meant for, you know. Like you said, you've watched a lot of the like 80s action movies, and I think, as I've probably said before, action movies are one of those genres that I tend to be kind of like meh on, you know. Like, they need to be really good for me to get into them, and most of the time I'm kind of like, I'm not super interested. So like a movie that's like a meta movie about action movies is definitely not like what I am ideally suited to watch.
I don't know. Like, I feel, as far as like the meta elements go, I think the movie did a really good job of like keeping track of itself. Because I'm going to give a little little insight to what it's like living with William, the beautiful human being that I am trapped with. Is he tends to ask questions during movies.
Yeah.
And this movie, it was more than any other movie. Like, he would ask a question like the one where he punches the window out in the real world. Will was just like, wait, wouldn't that really hurt? Boom! Immediately cuts to the inside of a car. That really hurt. Like, and then I'm not dissing you, Will. I'm just saying that's just how you watch movies. My mom does it all the time. And then stuff like, this wasn't him asking a question, but it was one that I remembered. And I was like, oh, that's dumb. is when he gets the call from his ex-wife, supposedly, and he off-puts the call by just putting a recording of him just going, uh-huh. And then it plays out, and my brain was like, oh, that's really dumb. No one would fall for that, whatever. It's a comedy movie, whatever. And then later that's brought up, and he's like, no one would believe that my ex-wife would be fooled by a recording of me just saying these things. I'm a lonely person.
Well, that's extra funny. One of the trivia bits that I found in IMDb said that in Arnold Schwarzenegger's next movie, apparently, there's a scene where he actually does put his wife on the phone with a tape recording of himself. But it's not played for laughs there, I guess, or something.
Because for me, I think this movie was funniest because it doesn't, like... It felt, and I think this is not a super fair comparison, but it reminded me a lot of Airplane, where none of the comedy is like, we did a bit, and then everyone looks at the camera, like, like it's played all completely po-faced.
Yeah.
And to me, like the ludicrousness of that matched with how it's delivered, that's what made it funny to me. But I think. I don't know. I thought I feel bad. I forget his name, but the guy who played Benedict Tywin Lannister, like he was a good villain. Like he's very charismatic. Yeah. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is usually just a brick in jeans, normally in his movies, this is one of those times where like he felt like a person more than just a killing machine.
Yeah.
As the one movie that I really I was thinking about with this, aside from Jingle All the Way, which no one should ever think about, was the movie Commando, which is another Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where his whole deal is trying to get his daughter back. And the whole time he is just rage murder fueled the whole time. Like he's never like, I hope my daughter's okay. He's just like, there are dudes over there, soon they will be in the ground. And then he goes and kills them all. But I feel like his interactions with Danny, as it like the movie went on, got better, and he felt like there was a character change and he became more paternal. And it just was odd because like the movies I think he does best in are like Terminator 2 and Conan, where it's not about acting, it's about being a huge dude that kills things real good.
Yeah.
And speaking of Terminator 2, I love the fact there's a shitload of Terminator 2 references, and that the Terminator 2, whatever his name, was just fucking in the movie. I was like, oh, that was great. So, I don't know. Like, as I was saying, I need to watch Conan again, but like to me, this is probably my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger like experience. Like I know it's not a perfect movie, but with him in it and what all of it does, like it hits so many things for me that I really like.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like you know mine probably, but
know your what?
Favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie / experience.
Oh man, now I'm freaking out because I'm like I can't remember what it is. What was it?
Predator.
Oh, I forgot. But yeah, that's another one where he's just a dude in the jungle who just shoots guns all the time, and he's just like, oh, you ugly son of a bitch. Like, that movie was just a whole bunch of tough guys getting murdered, and then him just being the toughest tough guy.
Yep. Well, I mean, that he also is, like, smart in that movie, because he figures out, like, ways to outsmart the Predator.
I mean, he figures out
like,
one. He puts the mud on him.
Doesn't he also figure out that the Predator only attacks when they have weapons or something?
So I think someone else tells him that.
Okay.
But
like, he figures out the mud.
Yeah.
You gotta give him that mud.
I guess. It's just... I don't know. But Predator is really good. But
I do like the Terminators a lot, too, though.
Have you seen all of them? Because when I brought it up in this thing, you were like, the last Terminator movies? If I had seen them?
I guess I haven't seen all of them. I've seen first 4, I think.
Is that up to Salvation?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
That's how many I've seen. I was interested in seeing, like, I think it was Genesis, until they just spoiled that, like, John Connor was a Terminator in the trailer, and I was just like, oh, okay, I don't care anymore. I heard the newest one was actually, like, pretty alright. Like, it goes back to formula pretty well. But anyway, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's in it, so it's technically still relevant. We did it. But I don't know, like, this to me was one of his, I don't know, like, more human roles that he's done that I enjoyed seeing him. Like, seeing him listen to classical music for the first time, and like even that stupid joke about like, oh man, he killed Mozart. That had me laughing, and I was just like, oh
Yeah.
I don't know. This to me was a movie so much more of style over substance. That there was so much goofy stuff. Like, it didn't really try to tell a deep story. It was just a story of a kid without a dad who finds a dad character that he helps grow as much as the dad character keeps him safe. That's a movie archetype that's been made a million times over. This one was just up its own butt with making fun of itself so much.
Yeah.
I don't know. Watching Will's face during the part where Danny is imagining Arnold Schwarzenegger in Hamlet was one of my favorite parts of the movie, because he was like chuckling and I was chuckling, and then it was just fun.
Well, that's a pretty fun moment.
But yeah, like, the only parts of the movie where I was like, oh, this feels weird and stupid was when he rescues Danny at the end of the movie and he somehow throws him up an entire story with one arm to get him back onto the roof. I was like, oh, that was kind of dumb. And then,
yeah, that's kind of silly, but if there exists a hulking muscle human who could do it.
Yeah, it just if that would have happened in the action movie part of the movie, I wouldn't have cared. But so much of the real life thing is focusing on realism and stuff, or trying to at least. So it was weird that he suddenly had superpowers, basically. Yeah. And then I had totally forgotten that the Benedict blows up at the end when they shoot him, and I'm like, wait, how did everyone not die on that rooftop?
Yeah.
I can't excuse that at all. I was just like, oh, that was dumb. And
I think I was just like so ready to excuse everything as like we're just having fun action movie goofy times.
It's like, oh, sorry. So I think that's one of the reasons why I liked it so much, is I didn't feel like I had to excuse things, because it felt like sort of like Assassin's Creed through the first part of the movies. I don't have to like excuse glitches happening in Assassin's Creed, because in the game of Assassin's Creed you are literally in another computer, and if a glitch happens I can be like, oh, the Animus fucked up. Like, my brain can make that sort of like compartmentalized difference.
Yeah.
And so when goofy shit was happening in the action movie, I'm like, it's a goofy action movie universe, nothing is whatever. And then when it transitioned over to real life, it was gritty and real. The chicken thing didn't work and the cars got all fucked up and all this stuff. So seeing him just throw that kid and then survive that explosion and being shot point blank in the chest with a huge ass gun to the point he's coughing up blood without dying in a few minutes, I was a little like, oh. And that was when it took me out of the, I guess I could call it immersion.
Yeah, well, and I mean, it's worth noting that, like, in the real world section, there is also a lot of, like, diegetically weird goof troop stuff. Like, this is a world in which literal magic is real.
That's true.
And also a world in which, like, New York City, which has hilariously high real estate prices, also has, like, a defunct theater that's just being a defunct theater, and where there's like a projectionist who's setting up midnight screenings of an upcoming movie for his 12-year-old friend, you know.
See, like that didn't feel, the movie theater part didn't feel weird to me at all. Like, that felt like part of New York. Like, it's a shitty theater, but he owns it and he's like, I want to hold on to it for as long as I can. This theater's important to me.
Does he own it? I thought he was just the projectionist.
Well, he says at the end, like, he says, I'm selling it and they're going to come knock it down.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And he's an old man, so he can't, like, take care of it himself, and he's kind of just letting it die, which is sad. Like, I chuckled the first time when I saw that someone had the courtesy to spray paint the word restrooms with an arrow pointing somewhere just over everything. So that to me didn't feel weird, and the fact that he's like, "Yeah, you're my friend, even though you're a kid. Do you want to see this movie?" I don't know. I had
Yeah.
somewhat similar experiences as a kid.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's like, I guess like maybe my parents were just super protective. There never would have been a time where my parents were like, "Hey, you can just go hang out with this movie projectionist at midnight." Like,
Well, his mom wouldn't like that
yeah, that's true.
because his mom actively calls Nick a madman, and he sneaks out to do it. Like he's leaving to do it. He doesn't even tell his mom he's
Yeah.
going.
But she's just like, he's a madman. Stop doing that. But then doesn't really do anything beyond that. Whereas my parents, like 100%, if that had been the case, there would have been police involved. You know, like
Yeah, but it's also slightly different times. If that was in the
Yeah.
90s, and I don't know. Also, fucking Danny looked 90s as fuck. Like he had
Yeah.
the hair.
He's like-
Yeah, like he like just like the more I looked at him through the movie, I was just like, this child is a time capsule of himself.
yeah, he's pretty peak 90s.
I just wanted to see him defeat someone using a skip it or throw gack in someone's eyes, and then it would have been perfect. I'm trying to think of a 90s food item that he could have eaten. But I can't.
I mean, pizza. That's an all-time food item, but I feel like,
I don't know. That
And
is
then
such
that-
an all-time food item.
I mean, yeah, but I feel like in the 90s that would have been a thing where like the
It's like-
Ninja Turtles would have been like, "Oh, pizza, yeah." That was my Ninja Turtles impression.
That's a good one.
Pretty good.
I
Right?
don't know. Maybe like a Nestle Crunch Bar. I guess.
That's a good candy.
I miss it.
I mean, it still exists, doesn't it?
Not technically. That you
Oh,
can
they
buy
changed
Nestle
the
Crunch
formula.
Bars, but the original is it's different now because once it was defunct and brought back, the recipe is not exactly the same. It still tastes really
Gotcha.
good, but
They did that with Butterfinger too, right?
yes, but I honestly can't tell the difference. Like when I heard Butterfinger was gone, and then like it was in the store, I immediately bought one because that Butterfinger used to be my favorite candy. I still really like it, but now I'm more of a Reese's Cup or Kit Kats man. But
Remember, Paula Poundstone wrote a really bad rap song about it.
about what? Butterfinger?
Yeah, the Butterfinger change.
Oh my god. But yeah, I don't know. This is one of those movies where as we've been watching older movies that I've picked, or not even necessarily super older movies, I keep thinking like, oh man, this movie could benefit from a remake today. I don't think you could make this movie today. Like, there's not anyone, in my opinion, who is as big as Arnold Schwarzenegger in his type of movie than
Yeah.
as there is anyone now.
Yeah, that's probably true. And I don't know if we have like a genre that feels as pop culture defining either.
Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like the closest thing would be like the weird late 2000 raunch comedies, but you can't really make parodies of raunch comedies. I guess I don't know. Like that to me felt like our 80s and 90s action movies were stuff like either Knocked Up or the Scary Movie franchise. Those sort of weird. But what did get me thinking about it is, could this movie be made into a sequel? And I think it could, like without going into like, oh, I wrote the entire movie, here it is. I was just thinking about, because like you see all those people in the theater see like death walk out of the screen.
Yeah.
So there's at least a population of people who are like movie characters come to life. So I don't know, a sequel where that is actually a normal thing, where people can vacation into movies,
Yeah.
I think could make for an interesting movie type. And then you could even bring back old Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's what I meant to do. I meant to look up. Well, because you're the research wizard. Is the kid who played Danny, is he in anything else?
I have no idea. I think I have the IMDb page open here though.
Because like his face looks so familiar that
He's like the 10th listed person on the IMDb list for some reason.
let's see.
So it looks like Last Action Hero is the movie he's best known for. But he was in Lawnmower Man.
Well, that was maybe a year before that.
Looks like his last movie was something called Cowl Girl. Oh, it was a TV short. It was not a movie. That was in 2015, though. Yeah, it doesn't look like he's done anything big.
Oh, I know where I know him from. Yeah, I know him from the television show Promised Land.
I have never even heard of that before.
Did you ever watch? Well, I'm guessing no. Did you ever watch Touched by an Angel or hear about it? That was a really big show.
Maybe my mom watched some of it when I was a kid, but I don't think that was like a thing in our house that got watched a lot.
Yeah. It was a spin-off of that about a family that's just moving all the time and going through like troubles in America, and there was like without being super heavy-handed, that I remember religious connotations to it, and he was just the son in that show. Went for like 5 years. But we watched that every Sunday after Touched by an Angel. So I was like, when we were just watching this movie, I was like, I know this kid from something. What is he from? And now I know.
Indeed.
CGI Arnold. Oh, man. I forgot there was CGI Arnold in Terminator Salvation. But, I don't know. Like, I would be curious how this movie could be like re-reviewed today, because I feel like it's a movie that would play out better today in a bigger audience than it did at its time. I don't know.
Yeah,
like, its comedy feels a lot more modern to me.
Yeah, I definitely do think it would also really have benefited from some more editing. Mm-hmm. One thing that I learned about this movie is that apparently they were still doing filming up to a week before it released.
Damn.
So yeah, there was only time for one test screening, which apparently went horrifically bad. But the studio was worried that if they delayed the release, that people would think that they had a bad movie on their hands. So they decided to just do what you can and put it out. And I think, like I said, to me, the biggest problems with this movie were structural. Mm-hmm. I definitely think you could do a recut of this movie that would be a much more fun watch for me. But
yeah, I do recommend giving it a rewatch, Trevor. This was a lot of fun, for me at least. And I completely agree. I could in no way call this art. Like, this does not feel like a film that is art. It feels like this was made purely for entertainment. And it came out at a time when action movies were still really big. So I feel that a lot of people may have been disappointed because they were expecting a more traditional Arnold action film and then got this weird, like, potentially schlocky thing. But like,
well, and that was like one of the big theories that I saw people had about like why the reaction to this movie was the way it was just because like Arnold fans went into this movie wanting to see a traditional Arnold movie. Mm-hmm. And that's very much not what it is.
Like, to me, the dumbest part of this movie, which it still handles well, is like the whole funeral scene for that dude who's like whatever the fart, and they're like, we're gonna put nerve gas in him, so he's gonna pass gas again, and then the guy sets off the bomb by pulling his finger.
Yeah, I mean that's goofy, but I feel like you can. Like, I can just completely forgive that because you're like, yeah, this is all happening within a dumb action movie. It's supposed to be.
Exactly. Like, I don't think it needs to be forgiven. I was like, that to me was the dumbest thing in the movie. That someone would be like, look at this stupid humor. It's making fart jokes. And then just like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like pretending like, you're like, let me out of here. He's like, this guy's not dead. And like, I don't know. Like, it was all goofy. And then, the other thing, which, like, as it was happening, I was like, that's dumb, when he falls into the La Brea tar pit, and then he just swims out of it. I was like, oh, that's stupid. You couldn't do that. And then the kid immediately goes, like, tar sticks to other people. And then he just keeps getting more and more impossibly clean from being covered in tar, like that, and it wasn't like rubbed in your face like, damn, you're super clean now. It just was happening, and it was just making me chuckle so much that
it does a lot. There's like a lot of things that it's like kind of a subtle joke or at least like a joke that it's not rubbing in your face or even telling you it's making, but it's like pretty funny. Like just the fact that Arnold is always driving like a complete fucking maniac. So like no matter what he's doing, like even if he's just driving to the video store, like he's running other people off of the road because that's just like the way that he drives.
Or like he only has one outfit in his wardrobe just duplicated.
Yeah.
And
he comes home and there's a guy in the closet who he just immediately knows is there and shoots him. And then he has just a bin of guns.
And I'm trying to remember what it's from, but the fact his apartment is completely barren is like another weird joke that I remember seeing explained in a video like that I watched almost immediately after watching the movie, where it comes from one of his other movies where they rented a space to film and then none of the furniture and stuff was there. So what they did is they just kind of retweaked the script so that he's just a lonely person who has nothing because he's so focused on his job. But it wasn't meant to be that way. He was supposed to have like tables and shit. So when you walk into his apartment and it's literally just a bed, I was like, oh, I remember that thing from the video. Brr. I don't know. Like, this movie was just enjoyable the entire time. But and you saw I was talking about where in Demolition Man he like Sylvester Stallone was like, Arnold Schwarzenegger, what the fuck, he's the president. And then when Arnold's is like, Terminator 2, yeah, it's his best movie, and then he kind of goes heh. Like that. It's just because those two would always like do weird digs on each other in each other's movies, and it was just happening again. But I don't know. What else did you have to say about this? I don't really have anything else in my brain off the top of my head that I can think of.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like most of what's left, apart from our traditional trivia bits, is just like, you know, talking about specific scenes or bits that were fun.
Did you have any specific ones you want to talk about? I feel like I've mentioned all the ones. Oh,
I don't know if you've mentioned today. You mentioned it on stream the other day, but the like ice cream cone bit.
Yes,
that's great.
Yeah, that was good. And then during that same thing, at the very end of it, like when they've gotten away from everyone chasing them after they jump the Coca-Cola truck, and they're just like talking like normal, and then you just see in the background the van just come up the incline and just fly off and explode, but like they're not going, oh shit, they're just like, yeah, this is happening.
Yeah. There's some good like one-liners. My definite favorite though was like the very first one where you don't even realize yet that like you're like just it's the start of the movie, so you're just seeing the Jack Slater movie.
Is this when he kicks that guy in the crotch?
Yeah, he says like, "Do you want to be a farmer? I'm gonna give you a couple acres."
That I don't. I can't tell if Will's watching this because Will might get mad because I have a Will story about that one because that made me laugh so hard. Because I didn't catch that joke I didn't catch that joke the first time he said it. He's like, here's a couple of acres. I was like, huh? And then I went... Yeah,
it took me a second at first, but that's why it's so good.
But Will, like, it happened, and Will just went, what? Like, he, like, not mad, but kind of, like, expressive. Like, that didn't make any sense. Oh, because I was chuckling. So he was like, why are you laughing? This doesn't make any sense. And then I look at him, and then he's just like, is it funny because he has a couple of testicles, and now they ache? And I was like, yes, that's the joke. And he goes, okay. And then just goes right back to staring at the movie. And I just went and washed a couple dishes I made, and I just was laughing so loud internally at Will just processing the joke and then just being like, I understand it now. I know now why you laugh. And then he just sinks down into the vat with his thumb up.
Yeah.
That's why Will's the best. But he just backhanded the lieutenant governor. That would probably get you in trouble.
Probably.
I also liked the consistency with a lot of stuff. Like, any time there was a new scene where they were sitting in the lieutenant's office, a different window was broken. because he would have screamed again to shatter the window.
Yeah.
But
that could be. So, like, it could. There's a potential different explanation for that, though.
Oh, okay.
Which is that apparently, and like, I don't know, none of the trivia facts that I found pointed out what these actually were, but apparently there's a lot of intentional continuity errors in the movie, where they like wanted it to be that from one shot to the next, things hadn't. You could like very obviously see that they hadn't done the work to like make the continuity line up. So like it could also be that where like they wanted you to be laughing about like, oh, these guys are so lazy they can't even remember like which of the windows is broken. But
oh man, I never caught any of those.
Yeah, I didn't either, but I found multiple trivia things saying like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of intentional continuity errors in this movie.
That's funny. But like, I don't know, and just aside from like the comedy, there was good humanizing moments of like him hearing classical music for the first time.
Yeah, that was a good bit.
Like,
and it's like funny getting Danny's reaction to that too, because like Danny's coming from that perspective of, oh yeah, I want this guy to be really into like the metal music that plays during his movies, but then from like Arnold's perspective, he comes from a world where he's never even heard classical music before.
From what I understand, all of the music in the movie is supposed to be diegetic, correct? Because it's all playing on his 8-track player that he has in his car. Because there was times where he would stop and then he would switch the tape and then he'd put it on and then that music would play.
Yeah, I don't think all of the music is diegetic, but a certain amount of it, I'm sure it is. I guess like I'd have to go back and watch it again to like actually like that was not something I'd been thinking about, but I'm pretty sure there's probably some like backgroundy music that's not diegetic, and then also there would be things like in the opening scene of Jack Slater 4 when it's like the helicopter shot up to the mansion, you know, there's like a heavy metal song playing there, which obviously is not diegetic, but
unless the helicopter had an 8-track player. But like the other thing for me, the first time I watched it, me being like, I want the best ending all the time, is I was really bummed that they had to go separate ways at the end of the movie. I was hoping that he would basically become his dad.
Yeah, me too. Well, and it feels like kind of a sad ending for Jack Slater too, because like he's realized that the entire world he came from is just like a place that's been written for him, you know, and like it has to be obvious to him going back there how like hollow that world is in a lot of ways. And also there's kind of an implication in that, like, you know, what happens to him when the credits start rolling? Like, does he just pop out of existence until they write the next Jack Slater movie? Whereas like he could stay in the real world and like actually form a real human connection with Danny and his mom, you know.
I don't have an answer for the him disappearing into nothing, like popping out of existence until the next movie. But something I didn't notice until this time is that you can hear when he's like yelling back at the other, like the lieutenant guy of like, oh, it's Hollywood, whatever, is he says like, I don't want to kill people anymore. I want to listen to classical music. He starts saying all these things he's going to do and change.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a sad movie, because from what I took it is, now that he knows he's in a movie, he'll probably keep living his life, maybe make some changes, but Danny can always come see him, and then potentially, since he has the ticket, he could go back and see him, I guess, because he waves goodbye. I don't know. It's really open, but I feel like the movie gives hope that he's not just going to go back and be like, oh, I'm stuck in this weird torture fantasy. I have the power to change because I've experienced new things.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. It reminded me a little bit there's a Satoshi Kon manga that he wrote called Opus, where it's like a story where one of the characters, it's like a guy who's a manga writer is what the story's about, and one of his characters realizes that he is a character in this guy's manga, and so he like steals part of the manga so that he can't finish it, and then like the guy gets sucked in and meets his own protagonist who has the realization of like all of the horrific things that have happened to me in my life are just is shit that you wrote to make happen to me, you know. But like obviously that's like a tonally darker thing which would not have fit well in this movie, but
yeah, it wouldn't have. Another thing that if you like that, I don't think the anime is super duper great, but you might like it, is a show called RE Creators. It's a show just about all these different manga protagonist or characters being pulled into the real world, and they're all like, we're all fake and we're all made up, and a bunch of them are like one of the characters is like a female version of Guts. And she's like, I had to go through all of that because people thought it would be entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah, the other show that's played with that theme a lot is Star Trek. There's a lot of Star Trek episodes where holodeck characters realize that they're holodeck characters, and then we'll have like an existential crisis about realizing what they are.
Well, there's the Star Trek fact of the day, brought to you by Truly and Robert.
Indeed.
But I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say other than like when we give our recommendations. So do we have any cool trivia? Unless you had more scenes you want to talk about.
I do have some trivia bits for you. So one thing, we probably should have just like talked about this during the main thing, but this is a script that went through a fair amount of rewrites. So it was originally written by Adam Leff and Zach Penn, who had in mind that it would be a Schwarzenegger vehicle with the title Extremely Violent. The script got rewritten by Shane Black and David Arnott. Shane Black is the guy who wrote Predator, and I think he's like a pretty well-known writer. And then after that, Schwarzenegger apparently was not happy with that script and wanted one that like gave the characters more depth. So then it went through another rewrite by William Goldman. So a lot of rewrites.
Yeah, I can see how this movie could be rewritten a bunch.
Let's see. So the role of Benedict, who was played by Charles Dance.
That's his name.
Yeah. So Charles Dance believed that the role had originally been written for Alan Rickman, who he thought had turned it down because they wouldn't offer to pay him enough. And so Dance would show up on set wearing a shirt that said, "I'm cheaper than Alan Rickman." Kind of fun.
That guy seems like someone who has a good sense of humor. Like,
yeah.
Even seeing him in Game of Thrones, I was like, this guy just seems like a goofy old man.
Yeah, he was like, he's really fun in this movie.
Yeah, I liked his whole little bits of the one Italian guy would say some sort of like saying wrong, and then he'd be like, "Oh, you dumb idiot."
Yeah.
And all of his glass eyeballs. Some of which may or may not have bombs in them.
Yeah. So there's if you remember, there's a scene in the movie when Danny's trying to prove to Jack that it's a movie because Danny holds a paper in front of him with a word. You're assuming the word is fuck, and says that Jack can't say that word because it's a PG-13 movie. But apparently someone actually does say fuck in Jack Slater 4.
Is it his lieutenant? It sounded like he said
fuck
it's like in one of his...
It's during one of the rants, yeah. Apparently like pretty hard to make out, but
I heard it really clear. I was like, it sounded like he said fuck. And then I was like, because you can say fuck one time in a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he can't say, which now that becomes another joke, is he can't say it then because it's being saved for later in the script.
Yep. All right. So something that's like, I'm going to call this vaguely related to the movie trivia, but at least like relevant to something in the movie, is the movie gives the origins of the magic ticket as being with Harry Houdini.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual Harry Houdini was very open about the fact that his tricks were fake. He did not believe in the supernatural and was really well known for exposing people who made supernatural claims, especially like spiritualists who would use parlor tricks to convince people that they were like talking with their dead relatives in order to, like get con money out of them.
Mm-hmm.
But just a little teensy vindication for Harry Houdini, who in this movie is an actual magic person. But for whatever that's worth.
There you go. Rest easy,
Yep.
you beautiful caged creature.
So, last fact, and this is like kind of an interesting one, and it makes me speculate some, is that in the original version of the script, Nick, the projectionist, is revealed in the end to be the devil. So, like, I don't know anything more about what that original version of the movie was going to be, but that would have been a very different ending.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
I don't know what that would have been, unless, I don't know, something with... Because I do feel the whole thing with death at the end was a little underdone.
Yeah.
Like, I was expecting, like, because I totally forgot until it went seventh seal. I was like, oh yeah, death comes out of the thing. I was like, do they play a game of chess for Jack's soul? And then he's just like, nope. I just wanted to see what was going on. And I think they excuse it pretty well, that death's like, I can feel someone dying around here, but no one named Jack Slater is supposed to be dying. You're fiction. That's pretty weird.
Yeah.
Bye. I'm Ian
But it's sort of
McKellen.
funny too, because like that death character is also fictional, but for some reason he has a list of people from the real world. I don't know what that means, but
I think if I don't know.
like, wouldn't that death only have a list of the people who were supposed to die from the movie world of the Seventh Seal?
I don't know.
Or does he just become this world's death when he moves into it?
I think just all deaths are the same death, I guess. I don't know. I like to imagine that death is so vain that he somehow gets to play himself in every movie that's made. But I don't know. That was the only part at the end where I was just like, wait, how do they resolve that? Oh, there actually is no conflict. He's literally just going, that's weird, and then just leaves.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, it's cool. I like you, Ian McKellen. You're a good Magnordo.
It is always fun to see him.
But that is pretty weird. Have you seen Seventh Seal?
No, it's on my list of things that I know I need to see, but I have not actually watched it.
I just remember seeing it in college. The ending is the weird.
I like weird.
I think it's a movie you would really like. But yeah, all right. So are we ready to move into part D?
Yeah, I think we just need to give ratings if we want to do that still.
I mean, honestly, as far as just being what a movie, like a piece of entertainment should be, I give this movie an 8.5. Like, I was entertained the entire time, and I wasn't bored. There were a few parts that, like, kind of made me go, huh, and I know deep in my soul this doesn't belong in whatever the movie equivalent of the Louvre is. Unless they just had a really huge Arnold Schwarzenegger section. But if you're looking for a good piece of comedy with some goofy action and then doesn't ask you to think too much, this is the movie for you.
I think for me, this is a 5 out of 10. I kind of feel a little bit bad about rating it that low. Because like there's definitely a lot of parts of it that are great, and there's a lot of parts of it that are like interesting and are doing kind of unique things, and there's a lot of parts of it that are funny, but like just in the process of watching it, if I'm watching a movie and I'm thinking to myself, I don't want this to go on as long as I know it's going to go on, that's like not a good sign. But like I said, I am definitely not the target demographic for this movie, so
And there you have it.
indeed.
Well, all right. Moving into the next part, we're going to talk about Fallout and our weird ideas on how to make. Oh man, snow Fallout. How to make a Fallout game gooder.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm playing Fallout 3 right now, and I've played Fallout 4 for the channel before, and New Vegas. And I'm really liking it. Fallout is definitely one of my favorite franchises, despite Fallout 76, which was enjoyable for as much as I played it with friends. But it definitely has areas that can get better. And that's what we're going to talk about. So I see you've made a pretty picture. So what is your Fallout? Or what are some bits of it?
Well,
actually, have you played many of the Fallouts?
So I've played 3 all the way. Like, I've played everything from 3. I played a fair amount of New Vegas and a fair amount of 4. But I think with both of those, I did a lot of the side missions and never finished the main quest. So.
Gotcha. All right.
Yep.
Sorry.
I'm really more of an Elder Scrolls boy.
Oh, man. So what you got?
Well, so I was thinking about, like, kind of what would be some interesting environments for a new Fallout that they haven't really played with as much. And I was thinking, like, you know, they've done a lot of deserts and hot places, but I don't think there's been one in a cold place. And I think there's a lot of interesting and, like, cool mechanics that you could bring to, like, a snowy Fallout. And as you know, I live in the Twin Cities, which I was thinking could actually be a pretty cool place for the next Fallout. Like, you've got the river that's going through the middle of the city that would make for, like, a pretty nice divide if you wanted to have 2, like, factions or something. But also, like, there's some fun and cool things you can do with snow. First off, the kinds of armor that you would have to have are, of course, going to be different in a cold environment. And you could even do some things like the mechanic in Breath of the Wild, where when you go to cold areas, like, suddenly your health starts to tick down unless you like, drink warm soup or have on special warm garments and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you could do, like, some survival mechanics based around heat management, which I think could be a good addition to, like, the way that survival mechanics work. But then also, there's some ways that you can use snow as kind of an interesting obstacle, just because, like, you know, if you're living in a post-apocalyptic world where it's been snowing and like, in this post-apocalyptic world there's no one to clean up that snow, that means there's a bunch of stuff, like, under the snow. So you could do, like, some cool stuff with, like, not obviously Fallout's not going to be a voxel world, but kind of that kind of stuff where, like, maybe you'd have stuff that you could use to melt the snow in order to explore for things. Or even, like, you'd have a metal detector that you took around with you that would tell you, like, there's something kind of interesting under the snow here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could, you know, like, melt through the snow or figure out ways to make traps for enemies in the snow. And also have some, like, kind of cool, different snow-based enemies. But
yeah, I think that would make for a good setting. The only thing for me that I think could be an issue is if the setting is entirely, like, all of the exterior is snow. Like, it's just white everywhere. Like, like, Skyrim did a good job of having, like, there are snow areas, but then there's also, like, the verdant forests. But no, I think the Minneapolis-St. Paul area would be great because you could have like the big primary quest is like St. Paul versus Minneapolis, like a tale of two cities warring, whatever. But then,
which is actually kind of a classic rivalry.
Yeah, but they both agree they hate post-apocalyptic Wisconsin.
Yeah.
But then, because like for me, like the biggest thing of Fallout is like dealing with people. Is that within the two major factions of Minneapolis or St. Paul, and they would have some weird name, I'm sure, like the Minis and the Paulers. I don't know. There would be like a number of smaller factions doing all their own shit.
Yeah.
And
one thing that I had thought about was that like maybe the like main portions of the factions could actually have some sort of environmental device. So like there would be an area of influence that they operated within where like the snow was all melted because they had some kind of weird device or something.
There you go. You solved the whole problem. And I really like your idea of the metal detector thing. It's not so much a problem, but it does feel sort of weird with all the Bethesda games. Is exploration is very guided, where like in 3, I'm pretty sure it happened did it in Skyrim too. In 3, you have all the little triangles on your map going like, there's a thing over there.
Yeah.
And like in the video essay I watched by H Bomber Guy, who just completely shits on Fallout 3, and I think his video is mostly wrong. He does say that like a lot of the video is you're going to be like looking down in the corner to be like, where am I heading in a direction to like find a tick mark? And then in 4, it got even like more intense, where instead of just being little ticks that gave you no indication of what you're going to find, like it was like silhouettes of places you'd be like, oh, I know I'm getting near a settlement or a power plant or something, which it works. But I think your idea would work really well with where you may have stuff where like I would want to see an exploration system where there could possibly be no ticks on your compass, and the only time there are ticks is when someone's been like, yeah, Minneapolis is 10 miles northeast, and then as you get closer it'll pop up. So it becomes really important to use your your metal detector or whatever the thing is, because you can have other tools too. Because what would also help that idea flourish more is you don't just start with the thing that finds all the other things. You start with, say, the metal detector, so you can find like hatches or something under the snow, but then you find like upgraded radio frequency things so you can pick up vault signals. So you could have those moments where, like, my brain keeps it because you were like, something to melt the snow, and my brain immediately cut to Skyrim of just two-handing a fireball into a snowbank to melt it. But, like, you're walking over the snow, and it's like, beep, 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 and you're like, oh, hey, there's a little ice block right here. Oil, fire, burn it, and then you climb down, you're like, holy shit, I'm in the Mall of America.
Yeah.
And you're just, that wouldn't really make sense. I've actually never seen the Mall of America, so I don't know how much snow would have to be piled over it for it to be completely ground level. But something...
I mean, a shitload, but not an unrealistic amount, maybe, if you had, like, a world with a nuclear winter that was, like, constantly ongoing in this area.
But the one thing is, I don't think that's a thing that actually happens in the Fallout universe. Is like the nuclear winter does happen, but it passes. But it could still be there, but I don't think it'll be a place, unless they just went, fuck it, whatever, we're doing what we want. It won't be a place with like 30-foot deep snow drifts, because there are people who will push that shit out of the way. Or shoot it with a minigun.
Yeah, I mean, like, my thought for melting had been that, like, common weapons could be things like flamethrowers, or, you know, maybe you'd have kind of like a heat sword.
The shish kebab?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that's the fire sword that's been in every Fallout, at least since 3. It's the one where you, like, strap a motorcycle tank onto your back. But, yeah, which now I had my idea, I'm like, now I just want to take it with yours and push them together. But I've never been to Minneapolis, St. Paul, so I don't really have a good idea of what the buildings really look like. But
you've been here.
I haven't been to Minneapolis or St. Paul.
Like, main part of the city.
Yeah, we drove up to Burnsville and then stayed there and then left. But I would really want to see a bigger emphasis on more elaborate interiors. Like,
Yeah, me too.
I don't know. Did you see the Cyberpunk 2077 like E3 trailer where you wake up in your mega building?
I haven't been keeping up with any of the stuff for it.
'Cause I need to not look up anymore. Well, they're actually being really good about not showing a lot of stuff. But you saw the movie Dredd, right? The new Judge Dredd movie.
Yeah, we watched that with you.
Yeah, the building is so similar to Peachtree's, the like mega construct that they're in, where it's just hundreds of floors with dozens of people everywhere, and like separate floors are like entirely different like neighborhoods.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I'm very excited for the interiors of Cyberpunk, but I would love to see something like that for Fallout, because the one idea I had, which people have been bringing up for years, but I don't think they can do, because I'm pretty sure New York City is like not on the map anymore. Like a bomb was dropped like in Manhattan, so I guess you could do it, but like all the buildings would be knocked over and it wouldn't be New York City.
Yeah.
Unless they did some weird project where they've been like rebuilding skyscrapers. I don't know.
Or you could do something where like the civilization that's built up is all in the subway tunnels below.
That would just be Metro. And I've already done the subway tunnels to death in 3.
Yeah.
And everyone hated it. But if they wanted to take another crack at it, to be like, now we have to make them more interesting.
Yeah.
But if before you said anything about having like weird heat generators that melt snow to kind of give the illusion of different biomes, I was thinking like, if it has to be snow everywhere, they would just need to have really cool interiors to kind of give you that break, which would make coming in from the snow much more meaningful.
Yeah.
So you're just like, oh man, I just walked through this blizzard. I almost have hypothermia. I need some soup. And then just like the doors open to like the Mall of America, which I'm sure would be a location.
For sure, yeah.
And just like the colors go from being like blue and white and icy to like a warm color of like yellows as light and fire is there, and you're just like, ah. And then they're like, welcome traveler, you made it, here, have a Nuka-Cola, and you're just like, ah, yeah. But yeah, if we want to kind of keep the remainder of our conversation in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, I think we could come up with a pretty good one.
Yeah, sure.
Because one thing I really want to see is I really, really liked most of, and then the idea of the hardcore mode in 4. The hardcore mode in New Vegas was okay. I remember just doing it because you got an achievement for it, and it did add some more layers that 3 didn't have. But looking back and then doing it with Will, it did feel more like busy work than anything else. But in 4, the hardcore mode, to me, is really the only way to play it now. Because aside from needing to eat, drink, and sleep, it changes like the mechanics of the game. Where using a stim pack does not immediately heal you, so you can't do what I'm doing in the game, where like if I have 8 super mutant overlords overbearing me, I'm just mashing the 8 key to like keep slamming stim packs into my bones. And then they also have the adrenaline system, where it's for as long as you are like conscious and not sleeping, every time you kill something, you add to this damage multiplier that will gradually like drop over time. But if you're just constantly killing stuff, you're just dealing more and more damage, so you have to use less ammunition, which is good because ammo has weight instead of just being free. So I'm like, that worked really well. But it definitely had some problems, like the fact you could only save at beds was terrible. I wouldn't want to do that again. And then the other thing that was really annoying is the thing that you were always like, the first need that would proc all the time is that you would become parched. And what they did, which was kind of a bummer, is that for many of the conditions that affected you, just negatively impacted your special stats, which are like the base of all of your derived stats. And for being thirsty, the one it targeted first was intelligence, which sucked because in 4 it wasn't such a huge deal because there was no level cap. And so you could just grind your way up to being perfect anyway. But in a game like 3 or New Vegas, intelligence affected a shitload of checks and how many skill points you got if you leveled up. And I believe, like, if you had a penalty, like when you leveled up, that penalty was like, oh, you only have 7 intelligence right now instead of your 8, so you get less in, like, skill points. and it's for when you're parched. And I've been parched many times in my life, and I've never felt retarded. When like, I've never been like, I'm slightly thirsty. What is math? So I think what they need to do is really retool that system. And what I'd like to see, and this could really work in any game, and they kind of did it in one of the Skyrim survival mods that I saw, is have it set where instead of penalizing you for not maintaining your like survival meters, is reward you for doing it. Is say like you have like on your bar of thirst, sleep, and hunger, like a green zone that if you keep all your ticks in there, you're classified as comfortable. And when you're comfortable, maybe, you would get bonuses to like AP regeneration or temporary hit points or something like that. And then like once you became parched, instead of being like boom, -1 intelligence, which in I hope you agree with me, in my dream Fallout, there was way more emphasis on skill checks and stuff like that over just having, oh, I have a big gun.
Yeah.
4 was a shooter with RPG elements, in my opinion, whereas like 3, and especially New Vegas, is an RPG where you begrudgingly get to shoot people.
Yeah, it would definitely be like cool if there was more skill checks of other sorts. I think probably because they know that the game's kind of like mainstream now, and like they want to get those really big numbers, they know they have to super emphasize the shooting. But I agree, it kind of sucks that like that comes at the cost of a bunch of the other stuff that's fun about playing an RPG.
Maybe they'll change it around, seeing the reaction they've gotten from 4 and 76 and how well Outer Worlds was done. I don't know. But, so yeah, having a -1 to intelligence is an insane penalty for just being kind of thirsty. So it might be something like your AP regens slightly slower. Or you only have like, you have -5 AP, like you have a cap of that. And then, but then if it's like you don't drink and you become like violently dehydrated, that's when it starts affecting your brain and you become dumb. But then on the other side of it, just so you're not just like spamming food and water every time you find anything, is you could become overfull or overhydrated, which would also have its penalties. Because that was something that was really good in this one mod for Skyrim. I don't think it was Frostfall. It was some other survival mod. It was sort of to combat like pausing the game and then eating a million cheese wheels. Is that the cheese wheels would still heal you some, but they would fill up a food meter that the game was keeping track of, and if you ate too much, you become overfull, and that would have its own penalties. So, I don't know. Something like that, I think. But the game would need to be built around this first, and then could potentially be removed by going to like a normal difficulty, rather than building the game around not having it and then putting it in post, and it just feels weird.
As long as you can like remove it by going to a normal difficulty, then I'd be happy with that.
I think if it's done right, it should just be a part of the game. Like, it doesn't have to be like unforgiving and horrible, but it just makes surviving a post-apocalyptic situation feel better.
Yeah, I guess like for me, part of the thing is like I have a very limited interest in survival games, so like if those mechanics start to get too heavy, then I'm just like out, because I'm like, I've got to keep track of a bunch of shit in normal life to start with. So like, I don't know, when I play a game, I don't want to like have to be keeping track of 40 different meters, you know.
Well, I was saying it would only really be like 3. And if it's like, I'm kind of hungry, it's like, all you would really have to do to play the game, I think, to keep it just going is occasionally be like, oh, that's unirradiated food. I'll just pick that up for later. If it's done right, it should be in the background and be rewarding, rather than like in 4, it felt a little too forward facing, where it's just you're parched like every like 5 minutes, and I was just like, okay. And there were a bunch of really good mods that let you tinker with how the meters went down, because in like New Vegas, the meters were almost never an issue. And what they do is they allow, in my opinion, for more interesting like encounters. Is you could have like a fight in an area, like say around those like heaters that keep the snow away, and because it's so hot, you start becoming dehydrated very quickly around them. So it's like, if I'm going to go around to do maintenance on this thing, I need to bring a bunch of water with me.
Yeah.
Or you have...
Especially if you're still wearing your Hot Boy snow armor.
Mm-hmm. And then you could have enemies that if they hit you, they take away from your exhaustion meter. So you become, like, tired because you've been poisoned or something.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those systems, it's just like, oh, I guess this enemy will also just do DPS poison damage. So, I don't know. I like them, but I've seen enough survival games that just do it too hard that it's annoying.
Yeah.
And then there's ones that just do it so hands-off that it's like, oh, I need to eat something, I guess. I haven't eaten in 20 in-game hours, and my character's still Arnold Schwarzenegger, so... But I like mild survival stuff. But, like... I would like to see that brought back, but really the game is built around it. I'm really interested to play Stalker. That's going to be something we do. I'll see how I feel after Witcher 3, if I want to do another post-apocalyptic shooter so quickly.
Yeah.
But just a lot of people have been bringing it up and saying it's really good. And I've heard that like the survival elements in that are tooled really well. But I don't know, I've been talking a whole bunch. What else you got?
Oh, I mean, that was my, like, big ideas. I did have some, like, smaller ideas of things that I thought could be, like, kind of cool. One idea that I'd had was that, like, maybe you have kind of a The Thing scenario going on somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, there's some sort of... Like, canonically, there are aliens in that universe, so it could be alien, or it could just be, like, an experiment from one of the vaults or something.
Yeah, I definitely
where
think
there's,
that
like,
would make sense and work.
Yeah. Yeah, just some kind of cool enemy that was, like, really only being held in because it's, like, snow everywhere.
Yeah, I think that could be really cool, because that could be one of those things, sort of like in 4, but... Like how they're all like, we don't know who's a replicant. Not a replicant. What were they called? Synths.
Yeah.
But in this one, it's more menacing because this creature is out to kill you. So you could just be walking around and you just like are walking past, like... Because this would bring me to another thing. I think there needs to be more people out in the waste that aren't violently hostile. There just needs to be like...
Yeah.
Because that's, like, the most popular mods I see for, like, all of the Bethesda games are just, like, more populated roads. Where they'll just have, like, traders and stuff just walking. And it makes such a huge difference in the game where it feels like you're in a lived-in zone where there's just, like, hey, there's a bunch of dudes just walking there and you can walk by and go, hey, Steve. And they're like, hey, guy. But, yeah, like, imagine just, like, you're hiking through the snow and it's not blizzarding and it feels fine and you're just like walking past a line of what looks to be caravanners and then like the last dude in the line as you walk by just 180s and starts following you. And you're just like, and you can kill it, but that doesn't get rid of like the monster. Like that's just one of the things of its offshoots or something.
Yeah.
That could make for really good horror, especially like if you're in an area where like it's dark and you're underground and you know it's in here and people know it's in here and they're like, fuck, someone is the monster.
Well, and like there's some like really cool quests you can build around that idea too, especially if it really is like The Thing style thing where it can like look like people. And then the quest is like figure out who is the actual people and who is the not people.
What would make it really cool, say it is a vault experiment, is that shit doesn't start happening until after you go to the vault. Is once you go into the vault and open it for the first time, and then you have the vault experience, then it's out, and it's because you went into the vault.
Yeah.
That shit is happening.
It could be like you open the door to the vault and like a rat runs out and you think nothing of it at the time.
Yeah. And then you're just like, later you're like, fuck. Like when you open the door and there's just a bunch of skeletons and there's just like a sign written in blood that says "Don't let anything out."
Yeah.
And you're just like, Oh no. Oh, what would be really cool is then when if you leave the vault area, like back to the top side, you can look down and you see the tracks where they're rat tracks, but then after about like 10 feet, they morph into like people tracks. And then they just disappear off, and you're just like, oh no. Todd Howard's watching this right now, and he's just like writing down all these ideas. Kind of going off some stuff from before that I'd like to see change is I definitely want them to keep crafting in the weapons and armor. I thought that was really cool. But I would like them to change the legendary system. I didn't like the legendary sort of RNG loot thing that they do. Because for me, that took away what... even though in 3 is kind of a bad example about it, and maybe New Vegas, I'm remembering it well, not great either, is... like, there aren't any unique weapons in really Fallout 4. There's a couple, like the only one I can think of off the top of my head that's like it's amazing and it feels different from everything else is the World Series baseball bat. Did you ever get that?
Maybe, but if I did, I didn't use it. I don't think I've ever used a melee weapon in a Fallout game.
Are you what? Okay.
Other than that time that we did the drunken boxing.
This baseball bat had a property that like it had its own sub crit system that if it hit a crit with the baseball bat, it wouldn't kill the enemy outright, but it would instantly ragdoll them and then propel their model up at a 60-degree angle a number of feet dependent on your strength level. So when you were max strength, you could I could home run people out of Diamond City. And what was crazy is if you had that and then the other skill Blitz, and you had queued up multiple hits, you fucking turned into Goku, where you would, like, I home run batted a guy out of do you remember Good Neighbor? It was like the town of, like, criminally people that was run by Hancock, the ghoul guy. It had the memory den in it.
I think so.
It's like the second town after... Diamond City. Anyway, there's a dude in an alley who's being an asshole, and we were fighting, and I home-runned him out of the city, and it didn't kill him, and I had like 2 more hits queued up on him, and then the game just changed, and I was just standing on a skyscraper, still in VATS, queuing up for another hit, and the guy's body just comes down out of the corner, and I and hit him again. And then I was left on top of a skyscraper, but my guy just teleported up there to meet him and hit him again. And then I've also had it where I was able to chain those hits, so I hit the dude, teleported, hit him again, and then I teleported and just hit him a 3rd time on the ground. And it was awesome. So, stuff like that was neat, but there's that's the only weapon in Fallout 4 I can think of that's unique.
Yeah.
There's, you can get a billion... incendiary pipe wrenches because you killed a rad roach that had one, and that made it feel less special. It made it feel very video gamey. Whereas in 3 in New Vegas, there's only like the terrible shotgun. There's only one of them, and you have to find it, and it makes finding it super special. So I'd like them to bring back you can add extended mags to pistols and stuff, but tune back on having every other enemy being a starred enemy and having a crazy weapon that you can find in him.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I want them to scale back, and if they got rid of it completely, I wouldn't care, so long as they focused on stories and combat tweaks, is base building.
Yeah, that's one I was going to talk about too.
Because I think we've just talked about it in general and just other things, is being able to build your own shit freely is neat, I guess, but it really kind of fucks up the visual design of a lot of levels.
Yep.
So what I would like to see, if they just have to have some base thing, which honestly I do like base building in this respect that I'm going to talk about, is you basically buy upgrades to the base and they grow from what you bought, but it would just basically it'd be when you go to an area, it's had just 80% of the stuff deleted out of it, and then as you buy the upgrades, it gets put back in with the same art direction the rest of that zone is built in, So it doesn't look like a weird hodgepodge garbage garage. It looks like, oh, this place now has like better walls and it looks nice. But
yeah, I agree. Well, for me, I was never interested in doing the base building. What I wanted to do was have like one house that was mine, and then like as I found cool stuff in the game, I wanted to take my cool stuff back home and put it in my house. But like the base building in 4 never felt like it was super conducive to that.
Nope.
But that was something I would do all the time in like 3. Was like I had the house in Megaton, and I would just like go out and find stuff. Like I'd find a cool gun, and I'd have like a shelf with a bunch of cool guns on it and stuff. And like I'd like a game where like I don't want it to be the kind of building that it was in like 4, but where like the physics and the memory of the game worked well enough so that you could find cool stuff as you're playing the game and bring it home and put it in your house and like actually arrange it without the physics flipping out and throwing everything everywhere.
That will never happen, but because
a man can dream.
My deepest desire is a new engine that actually works really well for the next Fallout game. Because what I would like is, Will and I were talking about this morning, is talking about like with companions, which not even going into a tirade, is I want a wide variety of companions in a Fallout game that all do stuff, and I want I want a combination of what they did in like, I guess his companion perks weren't a thing in 3, in New Vegas and in 4, where like the companion has a perk while they're in your party, but then after you hang out with them enough, they give you a permanent perk that you get to do stuff with, which to me like works in a gameplay level as rewarding you, but also it works like narratively, where it's like, yeah, your time spent with this person has changed you as a person, so you get this extra ability. But
yeah, I feel like the one downside to doing that is that then like once you get that passive perk, it sort of discourages you from continuing to hang out with that person, because now like you want to get other passive perks.
Yeah, I think the way around that is but I think it also encourages you to play with other people that you might not, because you want to see what their perk is and you want to hang out with them, is that you can get it fast enough that you can potentially get all of the companions, unless we had some that were like locked to karma.
Yeah.
That you could eventually cycle back to your favorite companion and get back to doing stuff with them. But what I was going to say was, because 4 didn't really do a good job with it, and you couldn't do it in 3 or 3 or New Vegas, is have like a My Megaton house that is huge and has enough room for everyone to live in. And then you can see them hanging out and interacting with each other, because like in 4 they might go, hey Codsworth, hey Mr. Garvey, and then they'll just whoop. And then, because not Good Neighbor, what am I talking about? Outer Worlds had everyone live on the spaceship, but even then, like, oh my god, so many times the conversations were just repeated instances. Like, I lost track of how many times I would go in to repair my gun at the gun bench, and it was Pavardi and then Nicoya practicing aiming and shooting at this dummy and just saying the same line. So I would like to have like a house that you can build out, doing like oh man, I want to buy fortified walls, or like this bathroom to actually have working toilets, and just have a space for your crew to hang out with that you can kind of come back to and have a home.
Yeah, I guess I would say like, for me, it would be a thing where like I would want to be able to pick which companions were allowed to live in my home.
Yeah, it would just be like what 4 is, where when you dismiss them, you just dismiss them back to your house. So you could just be like, you go to my house, you go to Toilet City over there. So yeah, you just send the ones you want to your house. Not have everyone go back to your house. But like keep talking about Saints Row 2. Saints Row 2 has a good thing like that, because you get a main base, and then you can get a few more in the game, and you can just buy upgrades to be, and they're not all necessarily, like, they don't really function to do anything, but you can just buy like room layouts and they look really nice. It's like, that's something I would like to see in Fallout, where you basically just buy the themes that you can buy for your house in Megaton.
Yeah.
But you could be like, I want to get new furniture, and then maybe having like a comfier bed will give you 15% experience when you sleep on it instead of 10 or something. I don't know. I want to see more prefab stuff and then less emphasis on just build your own settlement.
Yeah.
Because, like, the villagers that you took, well, I guess they're not even villagers, settlers, in 4 were not, like, rewarding to take care of.
Yep.
Unless you downloaded a shitload of mods, which I did one time, and it was pretty neat. But, I don't know.
They didn't poop out hearts for you.
No, they did not poop out happiness hearts. Or is it gratitude? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think it was gratitude.
But, yeah.
Sometimes, literally, they would poop it out.
Oh, that was weird. That was the weirdest part of that demo was like, the stuff that comes out of your butt after you eat. Scoop it out and put it in the ground. Like, okay. On a weird side note, one of the moments that happened off screen when I was just trying to finish up the demo that made me laugh because it was so weird was, I can't remember, it was the weird guy who, like, fights becoming a builder so hard. He's like, don't put a scarecrow there. Was his name Clayton or something?
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
It's the one who tells you to, like, make the toilet. He's like I was just, like, walking past because I was doing something, and he comes out of the toilet and he just goes, I feel so much lighter now, which was funny in and of itself. But then and I had not, like, emptied the toilet in, like, hours. So then the person who was after was, like, one of the, I don't think it was, yeah, it was one of the girls that wasn't, like, a named character. It was, like, Funny Farmer or whatever. She just goes in, she stands in front of the toilet for a moment, and then she does a little happy thing and goes, yeah, nice, look at that. And I was just like, what? And then after she took a shit, I walked in and, like, pulled out 100 units of poop out of the pot. So I just imagined, like, Clayton just took, like, this monstrous, like, shit that was, like, a third of his body weight, and then she's just like, oh yeah, bro, that was awesome! It's to the brim, this is gonna scrape my butt. And then I just came in and just, like, shoveled it into my pants. But anyway. I don't want to have to take care of my settler's poop in Fallout 5.
Yeah.
But I don't think that'll be what it is, because I think that's probably out of Bethesda's system by now, because, like, the idea of 4 was you kind of retaking the Commonwealth and building it up and giving people a place to live. And then 76 is that, but even harder. It's about trying to resettle the whole world and giving people a place to live. So I don't think that's going to be even close to the theme of 5. So I don't think that's something we'll have to worry about. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, you can still build cool bases.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a mechanic that people would be mad at them if they took it out at this point. But
Maybe.
I would not be mad.
I can't... I'm sure we're probably in a vocal minority, maybe. But I don't know. I think they could take it out, and if they were like, we're focusing much harder on quest design and more checks and stuff, I think people would be like, okay. Because people are like, but I want more building! Then they just go play Fallout 76. It's hopefully still live and active. And by this time, it'll probably have 500 expansions. Because they're already putting people back into it, like human NPCs that you'll... I wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple DLCs, you're just basically playing Fallout 4 MMO, where it's like, yeah, take care of your villagers. Your villagers will make food for you.
Or they said that they're going to do another Fallout?
Oh, yeah. They just said it's...
Okay.
They just said they don't want to be the company that's only Elder Scrolls Fallout. And Todd Howard's words were, next Fallout comes out, it's like, but that's going to be way away.
Gotcha. Well, I guess I was wondering if, like, maybe they just scrapped the idea of making a new Fallout completely and are just, like, focused on making Fallout 76 an experience that people want to play. But
I don't think so, because 76 is mostly being handled by their newest studio, Austin. It's not being done by their main studios in Washington and where's the other one? The people who, like, when they make Elder Scrolls, they're the ones who are making Elder Scrolls and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And I'm sure, because they keep making money, they'll probably get a new studio at some point. Maybe they'll put Austin and that studio in charge of making more 76 forever.
Yeah.
But, because we're going to get Starfield next. I hope. I hope that comes out next. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it came out this year. I think we'll probably see it at E3. And then the thing will be like, it's coming out in November of this year. But, yeah. Elder Scrolls 6. Yeah, is it
That's
6?
what I want.
I also want it. But, man, they need to rework that melee.
Yeah, they need to just make a new engine, like you said.
Well, that's
like,
not happening for sure. They've already announced that
really?
Starfield and 6 are going to be running on the engine that ran 4. But
well, that's disappointing.
at the same time, to give them some credit, it's the same engine that was running Oblivion. They just remade it when they did Skyrim. So they could just do a retooling at 6 and make it...
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I just felt like that engine, the physics of that engine have never felt good to me. But
they have never felt realistic. But I will say, stuff happens but it's really shitty for what I'm sure you're trying to do. I want to put this AK-47 perfectly straight on the top of this desk.
Yep.
And I can also agree, there's times where I'm I want to lean this thing against, it fell through the wall. But the physics engine also facilitate crazy shit, like shooting a bear in the face so hard it flies to the moon. And that makes me get super psyched every time that happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess, I wasn't just talking, though, about, when I want to stack a bunch of gold into a basket in my house. Also things... Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
well, not good. But, I'll pick up, all the gems and shit, you know?
Why?
And then I'll,
sell those.
have a basket, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm going to drop 1,000 gems into this basket, but, you get maybe 30 in, and the basket just starts vibrating, and then it shoots everywhere over the room, and you're like, oh.
Well, that problem specifically you're talking about, that would need a crazy supercomputer to fix, because if you're trying to make 1,000 physics objects that are all interactable.
Yeah. But I'm saying that's not even the main thing I'm talking about. For me, it's I'd mentioned earlier that I've never melee weapons in Fallout games, and that's because to me melee weapons don't feel fun in that engine.
Oh yeah. Though
and I always play as long range snipey characters, because that's fun in those engines to me. But I'd really like to play a game in a Bethesda world where swinging an axe at someone felt impactful and felt like it had the weight of an axe behind it, or
yeah. But to be completely fair as I can only think of, and I'm sure there's probably more, but I can only think of 2 games that have good first person melee, Half-Life 2 is all about hitting these with crowbars and fighting with the crowbar, and that feels terrible. You're just tap, 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 and then something dies. But
yeah.
The 2, I guess it'd be 3, because there's a series I was thinking of, is Condemned 1 and 2 have really good melee, and then Dying Light has really good first-person melee, which is why I want to play it with you, if that's something you're into. But
I guess I'm just saying, the melee combat feels like such a core part of, especially the medieval world, Elder Scrolls, if that part of your combat is not working right, that feels to me like something that you should put some energy into making it feel right. But
I completely agree. And I think they will do that. I think the thing that's the biggest frustration for that is, especially in Skyrim, I thought hand-to-hand punching combat actually felt pretty good. But it's not developed into a thing. They took that out as an active skill, which made me so mad. And any game that has melee should have a skill for punching dudes. That is my golden rule for gaming, is that if there's melee, you have to have something dedicated to just punching things with your big man fists.
Yeah.
So it could come back in 5, 6. Sorry, I keep forgetting where they all are. but I feel like they're probably going, because it worked in my opinion pretty well, is keep the tree system of Skyrim as opposed to...
Yeah, that was a fine system.
So they would have to add one for unarmed, which to keep it balanced means they would have to add one more to magic, which I don't think that'd be hard because they combined a bunch of magic schools to make some magic schools in Skyrim so they could just pull them apart. But
Yeah.
they would have to then add another skill to the rogues trees, or the other more lazy, less satisfying, but I'd still pick it anyway because they gave it to me, is they just make unarmed a single branch on like the one-handed melee weapon skill.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like Bethesda, except for Bethesda didn't even make 7 in New Vegas. And you know what? I didn't really give it a chance in Fallout 3, so I don't know, but in the Elder Scrolls games, Morrowind, Oblivion, and then in Skyrim, it is like not viable to play unarmed. Even in the other ones that had unarmed skills, like everyone's just like, the game breaks itself in the bad way if you just try to focus melee because you just are unable to kill things. Like, I was watching some Twitch streamer, I'm trying to remember who it was, because there are so many people that I've met through playing Fallout Bethesda games that only stream Bethesda games, so when I pump into their games, they're all playing them. But it was some lady, and she was playing Oblivion, and she was punching things to death, and I was like, oh, this beautiful fool doesn't know. And then she ran up to a Minotaur and punched it to death. And I was like, what the fuck? How did she do that? And then she like just mentioned offhandedly that she had made a ring that gave her like 1,000,000 punching damage. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, if you're willing to break the game, you can make it work, but I want to see it just built into it. Because I haven't seen it done in an action-y one, but like games like Pillars of Eternity or Divinity, actually does the Divinity even have it? Or Wasteland 2 has, like, you can play unarmed if you want, but it's turn-based or number generation-based, so it's not having to, like, pinpoint targets or do power attacks. But,
Yeah, I guess because those games are drawing more closely from, like, D&D, where you could also do, like, an unarmed build.
But yeah, like in New Vegas, you could, which is why I think New Vegas is my favorite, you could play through the whole game just punching dudes. And you could play through I want also them to, which I know they won't because no one's listening to me in the internet, is design the game around not having to murder everything.
Yeah, it would be cool to have, like, viable pacifist routes.
Because you can totally do that in New Vegas. Not only are there melee and unarmed weapons that only do KO damage, there are ammo types that you can load into your gun that only do KO damage. I don't think I'm going to do it, especially since we already did it once for the stream. But yeah, there's been plenty of people who've played through the games, just not killing things. But I'm wondering how that would work in some missions. Because there's not a lot of missions that are just, as long as people are involved. When it comes to animals, I think some missions you would just have to kill all the animals. But for me, that's not a moral quandary. There are mutant monsters, kill them. Kill them and eat them.
Yeah.
But when it's
I'm confused, though. How do you eat them if you don't kill them?
The people, you just cut off an arm. You download the mod for 4 called Disarming or whatever, and it's this mod where it's tied to punching, and if you stagger someone, you could hit the interact key and you just tear their arm off, and then you have it as a melee weapon. And if you have the cannibal perk, you can eat it. You can just eat it right in front of them.
That's metal as fuck.
But yeah, I would love it if there was just. That's why I'm banking on it for Cyberpunk, because they show it in the trailer of like one of the builds just running up and just boxing the shit out of dudes. That's just a thing you can do and just play through the game. And they've said very clearly, like, yeah, you can play this whole game without killing anyone. That's what I want. Not necessarily that I won't kill anyone, but that there's a way to do that without it being like, all right, you just have to hide in a corner all the time, or
yeah,
like I want to play an open world RPG where I can be Batman. where I can run up and win a combat mission where they're like, clear the area of bandits, where it's like, okay, I can just go in and punch them all, and they'll all be unconscious, but I completed my goal. And then if the faction that I worked for wants to come in and kill all of them, that sucks, I guess, but I'm not the one taking their lives. I'll make that compromise. Like, if the Brotherhood of Steel's like, there's a whole bunch of bandits, I could be like, hey, I'm going to knock them all out. I'd appreciate it if you just arrest them or something, but I don't know. Because, yeah, I'm trying to think, in New Vegas, there's not a lot of missions that the only way to finish them are, like, kill Greg. Some of them will be like, hey, kill Greg, but then when you go meet Greg, you can be like, hey, Greg, and you should leave. And then the guy will be like, I don't want to. I'm like, but you should. 100% skill check. And then the guy's like, I'll leave now. And then you can go like, I got rid of Greg. And the guy's like, cool, here's your money. And I'm like, I didn't have to kill Greg. I want more stuff like that. I really just want Obsidian just to take Fallout 4 and make a Fallout New Vegas in Fallout 4. But that's not going to happen. Oh man, what are some other things? I didn't really think of anything. Oh, well, I would like something that would de-incentivize just using fast travel all the time. For me, like, I think Fallout New Vegas did a really good job of not, like, penalizing you for using it. But what it would do is, from what I understand, I don't know the coding exactly, is that when you would fast travel, it would basically simulate as though you had gotten, like, you'd walked there, but it adds a penalty multiplier if you're playing on hardcore mode to, like, how much food, drink, and sleep was cost to move there. So if you're just like, I don't really want to, like, if you're just like, I'm just going home, you could warp home, then it'd be like, you technically used 3 more units of sleep than you would have if you just would have walked here and spent 10 minutes. But then you can just be like, okay, I'll sleep. But it does keep you from being like, I don't really want to fast travel home yet. I'll walk over to there and see if anything happens. But they're really, to make sure that it's not just really boring, is there just needs to be way more events happening in the wild.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, that's really what I would prefer, is, like, not that you're de-incentivizing fast travel, but that you are giving people good reasons to want to not fast travel because, like, there's cool, interesting stuff that you're missing out on that way.
I would love to see in the next one, because I don't know if it's in 4. I don't think so. I think 4 functions like New Vegas, where all of the quote-unquote random encounters really aren't random. They're, like, designed to only spawn within this area, and you'll meet a person and they'll be like, "Brr," and then they'll walk away, or whatever. But 3 does a thing where there's, like, a deck of encounters that can happen based on things you do, and those can spawn, I believe, literally anywhere. Aside from, like, inside settlements and stuff. So I was watching the video by Many a True Nerd that goes over, like, what makes Fallout 3 really good. And he just showed all these examples where he would, like, come out of a tunnel, and the game would be like, okay, we're going to spawn Talon Mercs because you're really high charisma. And while that's happening, it's also going to spawn a patrol of super mutants that are walking, and then they just start fighting each other. Or it'll have, like, there's, like, it happened to me where there's just, like, a couple just random hostile NPCs that can just show up and attack you once you hit certain levels. And one was just this dude who has a sniper rifle, and he spawned right next to your favorite mission, the Wasteland Survival Guide for Moira. One of the dudes who spawns if you complete the survival guide at the highest level. And what happens is when you do that, those dudes who are spawned as, like, max level characters. Because, like, they can kill Deathclaws, but, like, 1v1. Like, that's the point. So they spawn, and this dude just has, like, a knife and the evil NPC you spawned has like this big sniper, and he just like runs at him and starts like plinking at him and doing nothing, and then the other guy just walks up and just knifes him one time and just decapitates him. And like that sort of stuff can't happen in the ones where it's like preset. So I would like to see a mixture of like uninterruptible, perhaps, like random encounters that are always designed to happen to kind of create narrative and like atmosphere, but then also have the deck of many things that happen out in the wild where it's like, oh cool, it could spawn this roving band of rad scorpions, but also a brotherhood of steel vertibird. And then it's just like, oh man. Yeah, because I have just noticed how much in 3 there is shit just happening in my periphery that I'm not a part of, and it's just the game beating the shit out of itself because it's like, oh, we're hostile to you, and we're hostile to you. Fight! And it's awesome. Okay.
Sorry. There was a lot of other noises going on in the house. I was a little distracted. I thought, I don't know. My anxiety brain is like, is someone breaking into the house? So I was a little distracted.
That's fine. At the end of the day, everything I've said on this podcast is basically pointless, so you haven't missed anything. But yeah, that's really all I can think of for stuff that I want. I don't really want multiplayer.
Yeah,
now that I've seen it in 76, I'm like, I'm fine with just a single player game.
Yeah. I mean, for me, as someone who's like always liked to play a kind of like sneaky guy and who has fun like being sort of a god within the context of a Bethesda world where like you can just fuck with NPCs and they can't really do anything about it, you know, like that's part of the fun for me, and that stuff can't be a thing in a multiplayer version because like everyone has to be on equal footing. So
why do the NPCs have to be on equal footing with you?
I guess the NPCs don't, but like the NPCs are equally vulnerable to everyone else. Like I want to be the only one.
Okay, I was like, I feel like you could if it was like purely just co-op where it's like you and another person and you both were like, I want to be a troll. You could both troll. But I see what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if it was like a limited co-op, but and I guess I was thinking of like the MMO type thing.
Yeah, I don't want another MMO, but I don't think they'll do that. One last thing I wanted to bring up about it is, so because you said you've played 3 in New Vegas and then you've played 4. What are your opinions on how each of those did like books, like the skill magazines?
Really don't remember like what the differences were between them.
Okay. Well, I guess before we go to that, would you want the game to go back to being more like you have your 7 specials and then a bunch of skills you put points into? Or be like how it was in 4, where it's like you have your specials and then you just have like perks you put points into?
I don't know. That's a thing where like it's been so long since I played both. I don't really remember how the different systems feel, you know? So I think I just have to like play them again to kind of remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
I definitely prefer the 3 in New Vegas type when it comes to that, because having all those skills made way for all of the skill checks. Whereas in 4, there were like no skill checks. Like there were no skill checks really other than charisma ones. There were like a couple for intelligence later, but like in 3, you could level up and you could increase your shooting and whatever. And then if you did that, you got to pick your perk. And then there would be dialogue options depending on what perk you had. Like I had a perk called Night Person, and because I had a Night Person perk, I could do this extra part of a quest because I had it like as one of my things. I would love it if it went back to that. But how they do books in 3 in New Vegas is the books just give a raw increase to one of the skills that it's attached to. Whereas in 4, all of the books gave specific unique buffs. Like you'd find like the super useful ones like makes it so you find double meat on all animals you kill, or you take half damage from feral ghoul melee attacks.
I definitely like that 4 system better of those two.
Mm-hmm. Because I hope they do that, and then I hope, well, the bobblehead system was in 4. Now, do you like the idea of having a level cap or no level cap?
A what?
A level cap or no level cap?
I like no level cap, but...
Because I think I prefer the level cap method because it forces you to build into a specific way, which I think is really important in a game like this. But what I would want to see, which none of the Fallouts have done, and you didn't need to do it in 4 because you could just grind forever until you had every perk, is a means of respecking. Is, like... I mean, I in 3 and in New Vegas, it's very possible if you pick the right perks and you explore enough to get 100 in every skill. Which... may be the intention, which is fine. And then if you go like the absolute max with like knowing what to do and what things to pick, you could potentially then finish the game with I think you can finish with 10 in every like special and then 100 in every perk and every skill. So like then that basically removes the need for a level cap. The only thing like it's impossible to do is get every perk, which I think is good. Like I don't think you should be able to get everything. So that way it's like, oh, you can try other stuff, but so you're not just steamrolling the game and having every benefit, because it makes the choices at leveling more important. But I do think that basically any game that has a level cap should have a means of respecking. It doesn't need to be cheap, and it doesn't even have to be unlimited. Like in Dark Souls, you can only respec a certain number of times. So I would be fine with them having like a thing where it's like, oh, there's this machine that will let you like download your mind and then change it, but you can only do it 5 times or you'll go into a coma. Because unless you're an insane person who just can't settle on anything, there is no reason to have to respec a character 5 times. So you're given a wide berth to experiment, so I don't know. And if you can put all those elements into a game, Todd Howard, you will have my money.
Well, hopefully he's listening.
I will buy it day 1 at full price. I will come to your house and I will give you $60 and you will hand me a piece of paper that has a Steam key code. Not the Bethesda launcher code, because the Bethesda launcher is weird. And I will play your game on stream. In Robert's room. Sorry, Robert.
No.
Yep. Once we all live together, we're just going to have one big bedroom.
No.
It's one big bedroom, and then what our rooms are our respective office spaces, so that way we can write them off for taxes. Boom.
No, I'm going to have my own bedroom.
Millions of dollars. Then how are we going to hold hands when we have bad dreams?
You can hold Will's hand.
Oh, that hurts my feelings.
I'm sorry. I went to sleep alone. That's nothing against you. It's just I went to sleep alone.
Fair enough. Anything else you wanted to say before we close out?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, the big announcement to literally no one, which is why we're doing this, because it's just the 3 of us and we're just hurting our time, is that this is going to be not necessarily forever, because if we get popular again, or we get popular ever, we can bring it back. There's going to be the last straight podcast we're doing. I think what we're going to do is start transitioning into having the podcast sort of set up while playing games that people come to want to watch. So we're going to be replacing...
Just like a looser discussion while playing a game.
So like next Thursday we'll probably still be playing Saints Row, because that game is what we're doing. But yeah, bad news, and pour one out to also because no one's watching, so no one cares, is we'll miss you, Rabin, and we're sorry you are gone.
Raven's gone?
Yeah, Zero Gravity Theater shut down.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Why?
I don't know. Well, the tweet just said he's chasing IRL dreams.
Gotcha. Well, that's fair. I wish
fair.
him the best.
Me too. He is the channel we have rated into most, and we have met a number of people through him. But anyway, so yeah, tomorrow would have normally been Metro 2033 with Will, but Will's got some projects, so we're just going to play Fallout all day, and it turns out we really don't have that much left in terms of the vanilla game. We only have 3 more side quests that are available, and then the main story. I was very surprised when I was just looking up, like, is there any quests I'm missing? And they're like, yep. 2 I can't do because I killed everyone at Paradise Falls and wouldn't be a slaver anyway. And then, yeah, there's just a couple more. So we'll do those tomorrow. We're going to keep exploring because I want to hit level 30 as fast as I can. And then finish the rest of the campaign. Do Point Lookout. Then do the Pit, and then do Broken Steel. And then that will be Fallout 3, and then we'll start into some new games. But anyway, until next time, bye.
Bye.